Welcome back. This is Good Morning Kenya. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Vivian Degwa. Right about now, we are getting into a conversation that I had touched on or introduced earlier when we were beginning Good Morning Kenya today, and that is on empowering the boy child. And we are going to talk about it on the basis of empowering the boy child through transformative education. And joining us for this conversation is one Mr. Kennedy Mwangi. He is the CBC lead, Merisho School. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Vivian, and all our viewers. Thank you very much.
Okay, it's a pleasure to have you on board, and I'm very interested and happy about this conversation whereby we're going to be talking about the boy child. More often than not, people say that the boy child have been forgotten. From where you sit, do you feel like we have forgotten about the boy child?
Yeah, from the statistics that we have in our country, it is true that the boys have been neglected in the society. Because if you look at our educational system, the way it is structured, the statistics shows that more girls are doing better than boys, even within the society.
In terms of performance in education?
In some region in this country, in terms of enrollment, boys are less than girls. Because most organizations have focused more on empowering the girls than empowering the boys. So it is true from my side that yes, the boys have been neglected in a way.
Yeah. How do we change this? You know, how do we change this narrative whereby now we focus on both genders and not just focus on the girl child alone and get to forget about the boy child?
We need to come up with policies that are holistic, that are not inclined towards one gender. Because if we empower the girls and we do not empower the boys, the society tends to be inverted, where you have more girls excelling and very few boys excelling. Such kind of a society is not a complete society. So I would talk more about policy development. We come up with proper policy guidelines on how we are going to empower both the boy child and the girl child, our society will be complete. It will not be inverted like the way we are seeing it happen in our country today.
So right now you feel like it's sort of inverted.
Yeah, it is true. There's a lot of emphasis on the girls. That is true.
But who's supposed to take that responsibility? Because if you ask me, I'd say as much as yes, we are so loud about empowering the girl child, I feel like it's the women or ladies who are taking it upon themselves to empower the younger girls. You know, so maybe now it's upon the men of this country to also take it upon themselves, where we have organizations that are focusing on boys that is run by men as well.
The aspects of empowering the boy begin at a family level, then at the educational level, then at the career level. Because according to me, this has got to do with character formation. How did this boy grow since the day he was born? Have we failed as parents to bring our boys in an upright way? So I feel it is a collective responsibility. It is not one person's responsibility to ensure that the boys have been empowered. Even within the employment sector, we need to keep talking about the ability, that inherent ability that the boy is born with. There are careers where boys are doing better than girls, but with time, because of empowering the girls so much, the boys have been overtaken. I've seen more of girls enroll in engineering courses, which traditionally was a boy. These were boys' careers. So I think from a family perspective, from the educational perspective, and also in the world of working, we need to give the boys a chance to express themselves.
What would you say are some of the maybe specific barriers that the boy child may be facing today?
Educational disparities, which you have talked about, where you find that there are some regions in this country where the boys are not able to get the quality education like girls. Social challenges. Most of our boys, they are in prison. There are issues to deal with crime, issues to deal with drug abuse, You know, Vivian, you are supposed to know that very few boys will express themselves. They will not tell you how they are feeling.
Yeah.
And that one, it becomes a barrier.
Yeah.
You may not be able to understand. Again, if you look at economically, boys are not empowered. Yeah? In some regions, especially the marginalized regions in our country, you find it is the boys who drop out of school to go and look for money to take care of the families. So I'm saying that the boy child is faced with myriads of problems. And as a country, we must sit down and address them from one perspective. Yeah, there are so many challenges that these boys are facing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, you've mentioned something to do with boys not being able to express themselves as well, maybe as the ladies. And I'd say this starts from a very young age, maybe, because just from expressing yourself even emotionally, you know, you're taught that the boys are not supposed to cry, you know, even from a very young age. Akilia anaulizwa kwa nini unalia kama msichana? You know, so it's like they've been brought up in a way whereby they are not supposed to show emotions. And also, when you even look at statistics, when you look at statistics of when it comes to suicide levels, you find that more men commit suicide than ladies. And it is argued that it's because ladies know how to speak out. They'll have a problem that is itching them. They'll go to speak to their fellow women. They talk about it, cry about it. But for the man, yani anabaki nayo kimwanaume, you know, as they put it. Like, how can we go about changing this? Because this is one of the things that may be ailing our men, you know, today in the society as well, because we don't allow men to show emotions. We don't allow men to just speak up. You know, whenever they have an issue, they're not allowed to speak. They're just supposed to find ways by themselves to just go about their business. How can we be able to just start transforming men in the sense that we allow them to be emotional beings, because we all are as well?
I'll talk from a psychological point of view, from the educational point of view.
Yeah.
Psychologically, girls develop faster. Their brains develop faster than boys. Such that you find that by the time that boy is reaching the age of 14 years, there are things a 14-year-old girl can do that a 14-year-old boy cannot do. It is the way the brain is wired. So to come up with solution to this, I would suggest from the educational perspective of view that we come up with serious mentorship program to help the boys understand what you call manhood and mancode. What is being a man? A man is somebody who is able to express himself, confidently, without fear. But unless as a school or as the educational sector, we come up with clear mentorship program of helping the boys to realize their identity, we may not be able to achieve much. So as a teacher, I would advise that the parents and the schools to ensure that they integrate mentorship programs in their schools. And mentorship is not all about guidance and counseling. It encompasses a lot of things. Let it be integrated, that these boys are able to understand themselves, they're able to understand the importance of expressing themselves, because it's out of expressing themselves that they can be helped. I've seen boys lose debates when they are put against girls. Why? Because they are shying away from expressing their ideas, and those ideas could be very brilliant ideas. Even our former president, Mike Kibaki, he was a soft-spoken man, but he had very brilliant ideas. And these ideas were built when he was in high school. So as an education sector, we need to come up with clear mentorship programs which should be integrated into our curriculum to help the boys realize themselves when they're young.
Maybe what other ways can we transform our education system to favor the boy child?
By introducing more subjects and learning areas that focuses on psychomotor skills. Remember, in as much as the boys are not able to express themselves, they have a higher energy drive than girls. So if you bring in subject that they like engineering courses, I want to say in educational sector, there are 3 domains of learning. There's a cognitive domain that involves knowledge. There's the psychomotor domain that involves physical activities, and there is also the affective domains which involve you expressing how you feel. It's more of attitude. So you find boys tend to shine more in the psychomotor skills. So I would wish, even as we come up with policies, we try to look at how do we make education more interesting for boys, more accommodating, because they could be shying away because what we have in our system is not they're not interested with it. So for instance, if you come up with the old system, we had carpentry, masonry, aspect of architecture and all that, the boys were really interested. And from a teacher point of view, boys like a competitive environment. If you don't provide a competitive environment for boys, they shy away. That's why you see most boys, they support football, because that competitive environment is what makes them to emerge and shine. So I'm saying that in our country, if we would come up with subjects, learning areas, programs that helps the boys to compete, they will emerge. Yeah.
Okay, I hear you on that. And now, well, we've talked about the stereotypes, you know, whereby you're told a man is not supposed to cry and whatnot.
Yeah.
You know, maybe how well can we address the harmful stereotypes that describe masculinity?
I would say that first, it is wrong to stereotype a child. The flowers that you see, very beautiful flowers, one day they were seeds.
True.
And they didn't look attractive, isn't it? Stereotyping makes the boys to calm down. They feel less motivated. It lowers their esteem. So what we need to do is to encourage a lot of mentorship, like I had said before, making the boys to realize that they can still survive in the world where females are. Make them understand that being stereotyped or being criticized, you can be criticized positively or negatively. Train them on emotional intelligence. Like where I come from in our school, part of the student life, we train them on etiquette, interpersonal skills, emotional intelligence. How do you overcome small challenges, you know, at a very young age? And I know all our teachers all over the country, they know the importance of training your child or training the boys on emotional intelligence so that they don't cry when they are told, you know, you look bad, I don't like your face. How do you overcome that? So these are issues that are coming in the 21st century where you find most boys, they seem to be so stressed. Again, we always emphasize that in our school setup, let there be an office in an isolated area that deals with issues to deal with low self-esteem. Because this could cause suicidal feelings the way you're saying. So as a teacher, I understand the importance of what you're saying, the issues of, you know, stereotyping, masculinity. You know, boys, you are not supposed to cry. And again, I would advise parents and educators, let's speak positive about boys. You can tell a boy something that kills his dream. And you can tell that boy something that will make him to be somebody in our country. So let us not speak, because there's power in the tongue. Whatever you profess can be true. Let us learn how to tell them positive things. And you know, with that, I want to follow up with a question that is on mental wellness. You know, from what you were saying, it gravitates towards, you know, ensuring that you're bringing up a child or a boy child whose wellness, you know, mental wellness is also in check. So probably how would you advise, you know, parents, guardians, and even teachers, because most times teachers, you spend actually the most times with the young or the students rather. So how would you advise working towards bringing up, you know, not just men but children who are also good mentally, who have their mental wellness is in check? First of all, we need to have mental illness awareness. You know, some of us could be suffering mentally and we do not know. That is why I said in schools there should be a teacher who is trained on guidance and counseling and ability to detect this trait very early. Late detection of this trait is the one now which graduates to, you see now our children are suffering because the symptoms were not detected very early. For schools that may not afford those services, they can outsource. You can have a consultancy. Like in our school, we work very closely with, we do a lot of consultation where we find that a case is a bit serious that cannot be handled by the teacher. When the teachers are being trained in universities and colleges, there is a whole course called a whole unit of psychology of teaching and learning and guidance and counseling, where they are taught how to identify some of these deviant behaviors in a child. But what I would advise the schools to do it is to hold programs where they're able to sensitize even non-teaching staff on how to identify that. For example, in our school, where the boys sleep, they sleep in an apartment. That apartment, they are dorm fathers. What is the role of those dorm fathers and their attendants? It is to ensure that they are able to monitor the character and the behavior of the children in those apartments. Also for parents, you hold seminars with them, hold webinars, tell them how to identify these traits at home. Because you could be living with a child who is mentally disturbed and you do not know.
You have no idea.
Yeah, it is good also for schools. Let's create awareness to the parent. Call them and then you tell them when you detect this kind of behavior, this is what it means. Most of our parents are not aware. Very few are aware. For instance, when you go home and you find that your son's sleeping room, that where he sleeps, it's disorganized, don't be very quick to call the house girl. Find out what was this boy doing. You know? Yeah, that is what I'm saying. Awareness. Empower the parent to detect this behavior very early before now they graduate into that level. Have a setup, have a meeting, hold webinars and all that. It works. Especially in our school, we normally have a lot of parent-teachers conference. Trying to explain to this parent, how do I feel about your child? I like about CBC because it has an assessment tool called observation schedule. Okay. Where you're able to
tell us about it.
An observation schedule is an assessment tool where you're able to record what you have seen in a child. There's also another one called accidental.
Okay.
This one you record a unique thing that you have seen that child has done. So this kind of assessment tool in CBC, they will now help you to know, do I have a child who is mentally disturbed in class? Do I have a talented and gifted child in my class? And that's one thing that makes me to be a CBC ambassador. And I feel good when I talk about CBC because it has unique things that were not in the 844 system.
Yeah, because the one that you've just mentioned to me is very unique because we never had that in school. Whereby there's that assessment where like the teacher can, like it's something that is there that whereby, is this assigned to a particular teacher or it's for all teachers? Okay, this is new to me. So
what you have is that we need to sensitize parents on CBC.
Okay.
There is something called learner's profile. Where they rate and they express how they feel about what you taught. You see, this applies in the real world. What you call authentic, real world. So if a child is able to write how he feels about that lesson, these are skills which can be transferred home. Where they can be able to write on a diary and tell you, Mom, I think I didn't like the food that you cooked today. And you change. That way, they will be mentally okay.
Yeah.
I think I didn't like that destination that we visited. But you don't give them a chance because you're not empowered.
That's true.
So I wish let the parents and the teachers work closely, especially the teachers. Let them tell the parent the truth about their son. Sometimes teachers shy away from telling parents the truth because they don't know how the parent will receive
take it. Yeah.
Any feedback, positive or negative, receive it well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Interesting. That's a good, perspective. At least we're getting to learn more about CBC and how, how the education system looks right now. Now, when we look at, when it comes to the life we're living in right now, we're big on technology, we're big on social media. So I'm sure that it is way different from back in the days. I can only imagine how now you get to deal with the students you have in school right now, because almost all of them have gadgets. Yes, they have gadgets. They know so much. So how different are you dealing with the crop of students that you have right now compared to how it used to be back in the days?
Allow me to say this. We don't only have 21st century student. We also have 21st century parents, and the expectation is different. Right now, when you are looking for a good school for your child, you want to take your child to a school that is has emphasized so much on ICT and digital literacy. Digital literacy is one of the key competencies in CBC. Why the government felt that ICT is not bad, it's because it opens that child's mind to the world. You just need to do an awareness campaign on how best you can use those gadgets. For instance, in our school, we have a teacher who is in charge of ICT. And he will always come and give the boys a talk about the dangers of misusing internet, particularly. We have no problem having gadgets in our school, but we have other security features that we are putting in those gadgets to ensure that our sons don't access those sites that are bad. And again, every time we have refresher courses for teachers, where a teacher can be able to detect which are these harmful sites that these boys are not supposed to be. You cannot limit the current generation from using gadgets.
Sure.
One challenge that we have is that these boys, some of them are addicted to internet and those gadgets. What you try to do is to come up with a timetable that is flexible, but at the same time, it allows them to use it. Because if you allow them to be just free, they'll be wasting too much of their time in those gadgets. Again, advise them, give them work, refer them. Don't just allow them to go there. Because for our case, we use a lot of gadgets when it comes to teaching, a lot of research. Yeah, it's the same gadget that they use for entertainment. But how do you entertain yourself? Again, it goes to where we started, character formation. In our school, we don't have class teachers. We have class managers. And this is something I would like to share with the whole nation. Moving from the aspect of calling yourself a teacher to the aspect of calling yourself a class manager. You're managing even the social life of this child. How do they feel? As a teacher, you should keep on refreshing yourself. That is why if you look at what the government is doing now, it's doing a lot of retooling for teachers. Retooling is retraining. Because they are being faced with these Gen Alphas and Gen Zs who knows too much. So you need to keep on improving on your teaching methods so that you make even learning more interesting. Because if learning is not interesting, now they tend to run away from the harmful side of the gadget. But if learning is interesting, you have properly integrated that ICT, it comes out very well. And this is what I would wish to advise the whole nation. Even as we roll out these brilliant ideas to our schools, let us have properly trained staff who can be able to handle those gadgets. I know we, of course, we talk about firewall, that will limit VPNs, that limits these boys from accessing those harmful sites. And having an ICT trained teacher, it's very important.
Okay, how do we get to promote healthier gender roles in general?
What do you mean by healthier gender roles?
Just healthier gender roles whereby we don't get to a point where it's like a gender war between the males and the females.
This one, we also see it even in our political arena. I would say from an educational point of view, let us give both gender equal opportunities. Equal opportunities. These divisive things that you are seeing is just a creation of the mind. If you go at home, you don't find sisters fighting with brothers. But when we come to the world of work, you find people saying girls cannot do this, boys cannot do this. I would wish to say that let each and every child be given equal opportunity, even at conception level. The chance of getting a baby girl or a baby boy, it's 50-50.
Exactly.
So let us borrow from nature. Let us, each and every person, be given equal opportunity based on competencies and skills. Like if you come to our school, we don't have specific roles for ladies and specific roles for males. No. A teacher is a teacher. That is why we have mentors who are ladies, mentoring boys. Because if you say it's only a man who can make a man, what about the mother who gave birth to the boy?
That's true.
That's where we are losing it. Perception. It is in the mind. Once you give equal opportunity, it will help us solve that problem.
Okay. You had touched on emotional intelligence, and I want to get back on that a bit, and, just how can we be able to tailor-make education content that promotes, more empathy, that promotes, the emotional intelligence and everything surrounding that?
You see me drumming a lot of support for CBC. Because the problems that you are asking are what the CBC is coming to solve.
To solve, okay.
There's something called critical thinking and problem solving, where you give these children tough tasks, which they are supposed to overcome on their own. The issue of emotional intelligence cannot come when you keep on sympathizing with them. You have to put them in an environment where they have to fight for their right. In our school where I come from, we train them on resilience and autonomous living. I know when I speak like that, I need to expound more.
Yeah.
Resilience means that you train this child how to survive in a difficult situation. Because one day they will find themselves working in a completely different environment from where they grew up. For instance, me, I grew up in the village. I work in town. I come to town, I find new challenges. If somebody growing up in urban area, you take them to the rural area, they tell you they want to come back to town. Resilience. Autonomous living is living away from your family setting. For instance, we take you out of the country. How well have we prepared these boys for that?
Yeah.
So that is what I'm saying. If we focus on those two things, these children will grow very well.
Yeah.
And as you look at the two, combined with interpersonal skills, how do you relate with people from different cultures? And that is where now I'm coming from. Mentorship. Mentorship will involve resilience, interpersonal skills, autonomous living, etiquette, table manners, these kind of things. We need to train our child from an early stage and impact some of these skills in them. Yeah? In a very soft way. There's a policy which we call be firm, fair, and friendly. I know you'll ask me what that one means.
Yeah.
As a teacher, be a firm teacher. Yeah? Stand on your ground and follow the guideline. Be fair. Yeah? You classify what is punishable and what is not punishable. Friendly. Approach each and every issue in a humane manner. Yeah, don't subject these children to too much torture, thinking, the traditional way when we went to school, we used to see a teacher and then you run away.
Yeah.
That is now gone.
Yeah.
We have a different Gen Alphas, Gen Z, who will tell you they know their human rights. We know our rights. What are you telling us? Yeah.
And actually, now, you've talked about that, the firmness, friendly, and...
Yes, there are 3 Fs. Be firm, fair, and friendly.
Firm, fair, and friendly. And this has brought me to the question on, the way you get to punish, students right now. They've said you do away with the road. Though the Bible says spare the road and spoil the child.
That is the biblical account.
Yeah, but they said you do away with the road right now.
Yeah.
So how do you go about, disciplining these young people that you've called, the Gen Alphas and the Gen Zs, who seem to not even seem, they know their rights, and they know, you can't just come around and start punishing me over, so how do you go about that? Okay. And maybe, is sparing the road
the solution?
Bringing, the solution, and does it bring more harm or good?
I can tell you this, Vivian. In the world of learning, you don't need a cane. You need only an understanding mind and the person to be taught and the one to teach. There's a difference between teaching and learning. Teaching is impacting. Learning is acquiring. You see, if the process has to be complete, therefore, you must set deadlines and you must set guidelines, which should have consequences. Corporal punishment is outlawed, not only here in Kenya, in most parts of the world.
Yeah.
Why? Because it does not reinforce good behavior. It reinforces bad behavior. So what we have done, or what we normally do in our setup, is that we come up with a discipline manual That is, and every child signs when they are coming to school, and the parent will sign, saying that if I commit this mistake, this is what will happen. Mostly we give them outdoor activities. We also give them time out. I know you, in education world, there are terms which use like time out. We also do a lot of detention. When you detain them, you give them more tasks to do. That way, you withdraw privileges. Like for instance, if today is a day of entertainment, you make sure that you go for entertainment for 1 hour, and the second hour you come there. You do those tasks. Then we also do a lot of guidance. Once you punish a boy, you refer them to the next step, which is the guidance and counseling, so that they can be integrated back to where they came from. Avoid methods of punishment that physically harms the child. That child could be the next president. If you injure the hand or if you injure the eye, we'll have a president who is mono-eyed, which is not good. Again, the law is very clear. How do you punish and when do you punish? We don't punish in masses. We say you reward in public, but you punish in private. Yeah? Before you punish a particular student, it is good to explain clearly why that punishment is supposed to be administered and how it's going to be corrected, and why it cannot be punished like the other. That is why the discipline manual is very important. If a case warrants parental involvement, we call them. And we tell them that your son signed against this, and this is what we have. I would wish this one to be replicated in all schools in Kenya, where a child understands why he's being punished, so that even as we correct behavior, we correct it in a humane manner. Yeah? Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Very well answered right there. Okay, now...
I see you'd ask me that question about punishment.
Yeah.
Let's not view our teachers as being too cruel. They are very friendly in most schools. I've gone to very many schools in Kenya, and I've seen they have really improved. And these guidelines, I've told you, they keep on being reviewed based on the challenges that we are facing. Yeah.
Okay. From when we started our conversation, one thing that you're really big on is mentorship. That has come out very clearly, that mentorship should be key in also bringing up, you know, boys who are, you know, boys who are well empowered, who are empowered, you know, to take on the world. Now, when we talk about mentorship, do you feel like we have enough willing mentors in the country? And also, when it comes to picking mentors, probably from someone who's watching and is a young man and would love to, you know, get into mentorship and get someone that they can be mentored by. So how do you go about picking a mentor?
A mentor.
Yeah.
As when we started, I told you that when we are being trained to be teachers, there are two important units called psychology of teaching and learning and guidance and counseling. The learning that you see taking place, it's governed or it is directed by laws and theories. Part of mentorship is directed by what you call social learning theory by Albert Badura, which states that students learn by observing their adults doing. For instance, if I'm picking a mentor, that mentor must be a role model. There must have been something I've observed in that mentor for me to say that you qualify to be a mentor. The other one is passion. If you don't have passion, you cannot mentor. And then the experience and the willingness. If you look at our education sector, we have very many young people who have not been given these opportunities. You find that you go to a school, most departments, they are dominated by the old guards. I would wish that when we are selecting some of these mentors, we don't look at the age. We look at the experience, passion. And can you be able to model that behavior? For instance, there is what we call the TSC Code of Conduct and ethics in teaching and learning. A boy would wish to look like me, but he is fearing me because there could be a character I have that is not attractive. So when you're looking at these mentors, you look at some of those strengths, and you also look at their weaknesses, and you strike a balance. Yeah? And then, for instance, in our school, we give them opportunities to suggest, would you like to be mentored by teacher so-and-so? So that openness is important for our children. Don't force a mentor to them. Let it come from them. And again, you come up with programs, topics which needs to be discussed during mentorship. Yeah. And when this happens mostly in our school during the weekends, yeah, you select an area, a private area, so that the boy feel free to talk to you. And when a boy identifies you as a mentor, you must stick to that role that he has seen. Yeah. If it is, you know, there are people who just like teachers because they are smart. Others tells you that I would like to have these skills of speaking in public like Madam so-and-so. So when that kind of character is identified, I will direct that way. So our mentors are all trained. We give them refresher courses because they're emerging issues. In CBC, there's something we call pertinent and contemporary issues. I think we'll have another day we will come here and talk more about CBC.
Okay.
And that's why you're seeing me drum a lot of support for it, because it's addressing what was traditionally there, where you would find a child does not understand even whether there is soil erosion, there is, you know, the issues of terrorism, the issues of ozone layer depleting. So the contemporary and pertinent issues are being addressed in CBC. And that is where you as a mentor, you must understand, what are these issues that have come up which were not there in the old system? What is facing the current generation? The issue of artificial intelligence, the AI, the internet, you know, very young parents. You know, sometimes we may even say that we have mentorship for parents and also mentorship
for the students.
Yeah, so that we understand, could this problem be from the parents? So, yeah, that's what you're looking at.
Okay, we need to wind up on this. So as we wind up, I will just allow you to give us your final remarks on this, and just, you know, your final word on us empowering the boy child and how well we can go about that.
I, being a senior boy child and having grown in Kenya and being a patriot, I'd wish that all the parents and all our educational institutions to view boys in a different way. Let us harness that strength that they have. Let us not direct it to the wrong place. A lot of boys are being frustrated because of lack of opportunities. I would also advise the church and the mosque and all the religious institutions to come up with good programs that can be shared in schools, so that these boys or these young people grow spiritually, morally upright. And as teachers, let the government motivate the teachers. Because a satisfied teacher is equivalent to a satisfied student. You cannot have a frustrated teacher teaching a motivated student. We must look into that, and that's why I also say I advocate for the rights of the teachers. Let them have good teaching environment, let their welfare be catered for, and we will produce a healthy generation. Or what do you think?
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us and shedding light on this conversation. It is a conversation that should be had over and over and over again. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
That was Mr. Kennedy Mwangi. He is the CBC lead Merisho School, and our conversation was on empowering the boy child. I'm sure that you have been able to take a thing or two from this discussion. This is where we end Good Morning Kenya for today. I have been your host, Vivian Degwa. We do this again tomorrow, same time and place. God willing, do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Goodbye.